Thanks for joining this webinar training session on blocks. Basically, what we're going to run through today is how to build up a page on your website using blocks, and this will be applicable for the new HealthWatch websites. So what we're going to talk about today is the difference between building a page with blocks and an article with paragraphs, how to edit a block without having to visit the back end, and also what to think about when building up a page with blocks, and how you can do that differently with standard image and video blocks. So, to get started, we're just going to quickly go over what the difference is between a page and an article, just so that you're all very clear. So an article is what most of you will have already been using to get the content onto your site. So they'll predominantly be, the news, reports, advice, information, those kind of sections. Now, as you can see, if you go into one of them on your website, this is clearly an article. This has got different bits of text types based on the paragraphs rather than the blocks. So it's all kind of, if I wanted to edit any of this information, I'd go into the edit section of my article, and I'll clearly see that all of the text is there for me to kind of edit as I see fit based on the different types of paragraph types there. Now, when you've got a page that's built up by blocks, it can be quite difficult to work out how to edit this. So if I show you a live example of the Get Involved page, if I were then to press edit, the same as I did with an article, I can see that there's nothing actually really to edit here. So there's no paragraph types. All of the text that I've just previously seen on my page isn't here. And that's basically an indicator that this page is made up of blocks rather than by the paragraph types. So we'll go through kind of what to think about in terms of where blocks are placed in a minute. But I just wanted to show you how to really quickly edit a block that's already been created. So, for example, those on your Get Involved page. All you need to do, if there is a block, is to hover over it when you're logged in, click the top right-hand corner where there's a little cog, configure block, and in here you can see that there's the image. So if you want to change the file, the image file, which most of you will kind of be familiar with based on having to change all the images from the base site when you first got your sites, you can just quickly go in, change the image, and change the text and the link throughs as well. So it's just the same kind of structure as a paragraph type. So you've got all your different things here, so like your headings, your styles, all those different bits and bobs. The ability to make buttons. I recommend 9 times out of 10 when you see a block, it should be accompanied by a button. And the reason for this is that, the block has a very small, succinct bit of information about what the overall bit of information will be. So, for example, on this one, it's share your story. So you've got a little bit of why people might share your story, a link through to the further page because that's where the information is with the web form and other bits and bobs like that. So that's really easily done. So all we need to do is go to here, edit all we need to edit. You can even change the position and how it appears on the page, but we will cover that in a minute. And then we go down to the bottom and just press save here, and it will automatically come through all the changes that you've made. So it's kind of the same for any kind of format. As you can see here, different block types, the cog still appears. When you hover over the 2-column blocks, you can see again that they're just separate and they're in the top right-hand corner always. So what to think about when you're actually building a page with blocks? You want to think about how the page is going to look, so where your different kind of blocks are going to appear. Do you want it to be images? Do you want it to just be text? Is it going to have side-by-side like this, or are we just going to go with a one image at the top there? And what do you want to name it? So we're going to go through these 3 separate things to think about now. So I'm going to start with where do you want it to appear? Now, the key thing, if we go into configure really quickly for this one, if I wanted to change where it appears on the page, I'll have to come to the region settings. So you can see here that there's a massive list of kind of different spaces and areas on your page where you can position that block. What we've done is created for all of you on your site, you will have a page in draft. So to access this, you just have to go to content. You then filter by page. And then if you quickly put no to publish and apply, it should bring up these 2 pages here. So they basically will replicate what we're going through today. So So the first thing I'm going to do is showing you the different block areas. So these are what we call region types. So at the top, the first region that you see will be a hero banner. So quite often on your Get Involved page, for example, is a great example of a page that's made up of different blocks. And the top one where you've got the big image, that will be a hero banner. Moving down, you've got content top, so you can make sure that whatever information is in that block goes straight to the top of the page. You then will notice that you can, if you want to, add a block to pages that, to different articles. However, I wouldn't recommend this because you'll notice when you have a little bit of a play around that it doesn't sit very well, and you've always got your paragraph types that come above the blocks. So as you can see here, this is kind of text on pages using paragraphs would appear here, but you wouldn't be able to position your blocks in between the different paragraph types. It literally is paragraph types, and then it moves on to the block structure. You have the ability to have a little sidebar with a block, which is a useful feature. Say, for example, if you want to have a constant reminder on your page that you want people to sign up to your newsletter, that actually, you know, that might be quite a good opportunity to have that positioned at the top of the page. You then just move on to, you know, these are where the different blocks come into play underneath the paragraph sections. So you've got, it says content bottom, but that just means underneath the paragraph types. It doesn't mean at the bottom of the page. So be very careful, and again, that will kind of come through mainly when you have a bit of a play around for yourself. It does take a bit of getting used to, but content bottom is for the bottom of your article of paragraph types and not the content of blocks. Moving down, you'll notice that when we do pages with blocks, you'll often see this kind of stripe feature. So you'll see, you know, you've got a grey and then followed by white and grey again, and it's just a really easy, nice way to kind of position your material on your page for your user to kind of clearly see the different sections that you're talking about. So it could be, for example, if you have an enter and view page, you might want to have a block up here which says what enter and view is. Then this one might be something like how to get involved as an enter and view volunteer, and then you might want to then talk about a real life example of what it means to be a volunteer for your HealthWatch. So you've got options to go up to 5 blocks there. So if you remember the content, use of the content top, that means that you can have 6 stripes. You can't have any more than that on a page, unfortunately, but you know, there are ways to kind of have more information side by side. So we'll go on to the 2-column block a little bit later. So you could, for example, have 6 stripes but made up of 2 blocks. So that will give you 12 different points of information that you could have on one page. And then you've got this bottom one here, which kind of finishes off the page. This is the hero banner footer. Again, normally this will be accompanied by an image, but you can have it without if you wanted to. So they're kind of just a quick run through of the different regions. I'm just going to show you how that appears in the back end. So if I've just gone into configure block there, and I go down to the region types, you can see here that I haven't talked about the header and the navigation, and that's because they're things that you can't really edit, and when you do put the block in there, it doesn't fit very well. They're kind of, they are strict permissions on kind of the, as you already know, with your menu and things like that. So we just make sure that the sites kind of have that same look and feel through those 2 features. But in terms of all this kind of content here, this is like the top bit that we've talked about, and then you kind of come onto your core page elements, which will start from the sidebar and going down to the different rows, and then finishing it off by the footer. Again, I haven't talked about this footer feature, and that's mainly because that's, again, a restricted area to adapt. So you'll notice that that's where your social icons kind of sit, and it's just a very, again, same view for all. That's kind of a little bit of a quick run through in how to think about where on the page that you want things to be displayed. What I would always recommend doing is kind of sitting there and thinking about what is the information that you've got, because quite often people think, let's go and make a page. Well, actually, can it be better off as an article? The best way to think about the page is to kind of think it as, you know, a way to pull in other areas of your website altogether. So, for example, if I show you one for HealthWatch England, we've done a recent project on maternal mental health, And this basically, we have a lot of content that we wanted to showcase to people, and a page was the best way to do this, to pull it all together. But they can always be found elsewhere on the site. So we've got Rachel's story here at the top, headering it for people to see and click through. You've then got a nice little stat block here, which kind of just immediately gets the user's eye and kind of tells them what it is that we're about to tell them. This kind of links through the report that we've got. And then we've got, again, another way to display report content. Moving down, we then want to pull in another story here, so that's what we've done here, which is just basically an article type that we've clicked through to. Another couple of links there to external sources. So in this project, we had a number of local HealthWatch working with us on maternal mental health. But actually, for your own uses, it might be that actually there's a number of partners that have done similar work, and actually maybe you've worked side by side, and you want to kind of showcase that space. And then we pulled through the bottom here via the related content types, all the different blocks, all the different blogs, that we've created to support this piece of work. And then finishing it off with a nice little footer there to put, again, point to the report. So you can see that this page wouldn't have worked unless we had loads of other areas to be able to point and navigate people to. Otherwise, it would have just been a standard article, and that would have been sufficient enough. But it was the fact that we wanted to pull through a report, videos, articles, and that's why we needed a page to showcase and pull together all this content in one space. So we've had a look at where we want it to appear, and now we kind of have to think about how it's going to look. So again, if I show you an example, I think if you go into content, page again, filter and published, we've then got an example of how all the image blocks will look on your page. So you can kind of, again, think about, do you want it to be text? Do you want it to have an image accompanied with it? And we'll talk about the two ways to make those blocks in a minute, but it's a good idea to kind of try and think about how to plot that on the page. So you've got your header banner here, and you can see the difference that an image has made to that now. So you've got information that you're able to put in a little text box here. Normally, like I say, you'd have a button to accompany that to lead people elsewhere. You have the ability to set this up as what looks like a video. You can't have the video installed in this header banner, but we'll come on to that in a minute. But what you can see is that it has a play button, so people are given an indicator that if they press through to that, they are likely to see a video, which will happen, but it will just link through a different page where the video will be displayed. You've then got the option to kind of have the little sidebar option that we were talking about. This has got an image attached to it, so it's kind of your call, really, whether that's necessary or not. You've got impact stats, so most of you will be familiar with these on your site already. They're kind of a really good way to kind of bring out the key figure on the page. So it might be the number of people that you spoke to in your report. It might be a certain percentage of people that have fed back about a particular thing. So, it's just a different way to showcase this information. This one here is a footer. So this has got your image footer there. So again, you can just see how an image brings that one to life in a really nice way. Now, I'm also going to show you a real-life example of the Get Involved page again. I know I keep saying about this page, but it's the best example. So if I scroll down, and then I've got another two ways here. So these are called column blocks, and they sit side by side. So you've got one over here that is column block 1, and it sits quite nicely next to column block 2. Now, whilst you've got, the same theme for this particular section, you don't necessarily have to. So this is brought together by a title block, which just sits here, but we can quite often, and you'll see that the two column blocks appear without the title, and that's because actually, you might want this one to be on volunteering, but actually you might want this one to be on jobs, which is perfectly fine. It just means that we don't need the title linking them together because it's not really appropriate. So scrolling down, we've got another type of block. This one is without an image. So this is how a quote block would look. And just a quick note on this type here, basically this is to bring in content from elsewhere on your site, but this is something that Circle produced, so we can't replicate this, so you won't be able to do that, unfortunately. But just to give you a quick overview, so you've got these for events, your carousels, your home page is made predominantly of these kind of pull-through block types. which basically just kind of is automated. You don't have to think about it. When you publish a news article, it appears here, but there is no way to kind of do that yourself. If there is any need for something to be automated, just have a chat with us, because we'll be keen to kind of hear your thoughts around where this could go. And if we can't do it, then, you know, we're more than happy to kind of, one, take it back for development, and also give you some ideas of what we can do in the meantime to achieve your goal. You've then got a normal block here, so this kind of shows you what it would look like without text, without an image, sorry. So you've got just pure text here. You could easily change that to add an image should you wish, but that's kind of, again, it just depends on what look and feel you want to do. So if I go on to configure block again, and we're going to go now, instead of looking at the region settings, so this is whereabouts on the page it's going to be displayed, we're going to go to the custom theme, the block theme, and this is actually going to look at how it's displayed, you know. So we thought about where it's going to sit, and now this is how it's going to look. So you've got a few options that we've already been through in terms of, I've shown you how they look in real life, but this is just running back through them on this end. So you've got the option here to have the hero banner image, and you can flip, depending on how, you know, your image is set up, you might have most of the people over to one side, so you'd want your text to be on either the left or the right-hand side, depending on how clearly that can be displayed. The video poster is that one that we looked at a minute ago, where you've got the play button just in the middle of it. Like I say, it doesn't embed a video automatically into here. You will just have to make a page which has that video sitting on it. Your text with image right and text with image left are actually two that we didn't go through, so I'm just going to quickly show you how that would look now. So I try this one. So I'm just going to quickly change this image here, so you'll see how quickly this is. Configure block, and scroll down to the block theme, and now I'm going to change this to text with image right, and press save. And you can see here, this is how this kind of looks now. It's a text with image right and text with image left, really easy to do. And you'll notice that actually when you've got the stripes, it's really effective when you've got them kind of mirrored. So you've got this one over here for this one, and then you just flip it around for the next. I'm going to put this back. Okay, so back to the rest of the block themes. We've then got the two column blocks, which I've already talked about. So it's the one that I've just changed. They just sit side by side. So to make this effective, you do have to make two separate blocks to have them sit side by side, just to make sure that they are the same custom theme and in the same area. So you'd probably want them to be in one of the rows, and just make sure that they are in the same area. Otherwise, they won't appear side by side, and they'll appear underneath each other. That's just an important point to note. You've got the grey block here, so that's just kind of a standard. You can choose to have an image or not in there. You can either, it just literally is what it says in the tin, it's a grey block. You've got the title block. So with this one, it is a little bit different. So the main difference with this, is basically you have to have a block title here to make this one effective. With all the other blocks, we'll go through all these fields in a minute, but you don't need a block title unless you actually choose to put it there to make it work, apart from the title block. And then you've got your impact stats, full width and half width. So it might be that actually you've got maybe 6 different stats that you want to pull together on a page. It might be a bit overwhelming to have all of those as full width. So you do have the option to have half width there, which again is just a nice way to just display your content. And then you've got your quote block, very similar to the quote paragraph, but again, this is just positioned as a block. You'll get the automatic quote features around the text when you publish this. So now we've thought about how it's going to appear, what it looks like, and now we're going to go through the back end to be able to see how to name it. We'll come on to creating a block after this. So the back end. So you've got structure, and then you've got blocks. So we click that, And it's not the most intuitive way to be able to find and source your blocks, to be honest. There's not really much that we can do around this at the moment, so what we've tried to do at HealthWatch England is hide the fields that you don't need to see. So there might be some things that you're seeing on my screen right now because I'm logged into the HealthWatch England account, which you might not be able to see. That's absolutely fine, don't panic, it's on purpose, basically. So there's two ways that you can search for blocks that you've already created via this platform. So the first one is how it's sorted, and that's by region. So you can see that it's all groups, all the hero banners are together, all the page titles are together, and the content types. So it's kind of, if you know where it sits on the page and that's what you're looking for, then go and find it by the region and then try to navigate through in that way. But the best thing to do, my best recommendation is just to really think about how you're actually naming your block in the first place, because the best way and easiest way is to Control F, which is Control Find, and then you can then easily put in something like, if I put advice, then I can see, I've got already narrowed it down to just 14 options that I can then just flick through and find the appropriate blocks that I would like to edit. So when you're labeling your blocks, just think about putting the region type here so you can automatically find it by the region, and then put where that page is, what that page is, so that you can find it in the future. Give it a unique name. If you've got several pages with volunteer, try not to just name it volunteer. Be a little bit more specific. So volunteer web page for the web form, or volunteer enter and view block. Those kind of things. So now we've talked about all those, we're going to have a look now at how to actually create from scratch a block. So you can do this by going to Structure, Blocks, and you've got the choice here for adding a normal block, a chart block, or an image block. Now, you've also got menu block, but I don't think this is available to you as local HealthWatch, so ignore that on my screen for the time being. So I can do it that way, or I can go into the blocks menu page, and obviously the same options are displayed here. So if I wanted to add a block, this is what I would do for a standard block and also for a video block. So just remember that that is how you do the video. The chart blocks, we're going to come onto that in a different webinar, so we'll go through charts at a separate time. But today we will be covering the image block as well, which is kind of self-explanatory. They're blocks that include images. So to start with, I'm going to take you through how to make a standard block. So this is a block with just plain text or that has a video. So the first field that you've got is block title. So what I said earlier, this is more about if you would like a title on your block displayed on the front end of the site, but it's not necessary to make the block effective. So you could either have a title in this way, or you can have a title in this way by placing this as a header type. By doing the title at the top here, that's kind of a bit of a standard sizing and where it sits, whereas actually by doing it over here in terms of a different heading type, you've got a bit more scope to, kind of change the sizing up a little bit to make that fit well with your page, should you wish to. What is a mandatory field is the block description. So this helps you find the block from that big thing that I just showed you in terms of the block navigation. So what you want to do here is put the region down, region, page that it sits on, and then any additional information. And by that I just mean that, just think about what would you search for if you wanted to find that block again, put it into the block description. It will be much helpful for you in the future. You then got the block body. So this is very, very similar to your, well, it's the same as the paragraph setup. You've got the same abilities with the headings as the stars, as I said earlier. So it's mandatory because, you've got to have some kind of text in there to accompany your block. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. There's no point to it. So just make sure that you filled that out properly. You can ignore this field down here. We don't really need to do anything about this. And then we come on to the region settings, which is where we're going to display it on our page. So, say if we want to make it at the top of the page, we'd select Hero Banner. When it comes to Bootstrap, ignore this. We don't need to do anything about this. For the block theme, we've got custom themes. So this is just how it's going to look. So actually, because I've just selected hero banner, I'm probably going to want a hero banner image to accompany that. You don't need a custom block variable here. That's not something we need to do. And I've just realized here as well that actually this image, you're not going to be able to do an image on here because of the fact that naturally this is a standard block, which I just went through, so that's a bit confusing, so sorry about that. So basically we'll just press none. And then you get down to the bottom here, and you've got the visibility settings, so show block on specific pages. You can have it on all pages or only the listed ones. So I'd really recommend just having on only the listed pages, because you don't want it to appear on your home page, on your events page, on your news page. It's never going to make sense everywhere. But you can have multiple. All you need to do is go into the different page. So say if it is this one, let's go to edit. And then I take the node number, the same as we've done when we're kind of linking internally, copy, and then just literally place that down here. And if you want multiple pages, just press the enter button and copy the separate page that you want it to be. So maybe, for example, if you have got something that's relevant for volunteers, you might want that to sit on your Get Involved page and your volunteer page. That's why you'd want a couple of different node numbers there. You don't need to worry about content types, roles, or users. You just then got to save block. Be sure to do that, because otherwise you won't save it. So whilst we're on here, I'll then quickly go through how to actually make this go from a standard text block to a video block. It's really simple. It's just pretty much the same as the embed feature for the paragraph types again. So as you can see, you've got this bit here which says embed media. So it's just this figure here. So I'm going to click that, and I've been asked for an embed code. So I'm going to show you how to really quickly do this on YouTube with a video that I've got earlier. You click on it, you go to the video that you want to embed, and you can see that this share figure down here. Click that, and then press embed. And you've literally just got to copy and paste the embed code over to your block. There we go, here we go. Paste that there, press OK, and you can see that it will just look blank here, but it will clearly show you that actually here's where you've embedded your media. So you can have text above or below that, but what is worth noting, which I'll go through now, is that there's only specific blocks where you can actually embed the video, because it's not going to work for all of them. As I've already said, it doesn't work for the header block. So when you are putting a video in, you now have, this is one of the developments from the HealthWatch England team, working with Circle to do this. So we kind of wanted to just bring the information to life a little bit more. You know, it wasn't very great having to direct people to a different page just to watch the video. We wanted to keep them on the page and to be able to kind of have that option to either read more or actually just watch it there. So as you can see, this kind of looks very, very similar to an image text right paragraph. Block type, sorry. So all you've done there instead is just, you can play this video in the block. So you've got the ability to do that with text with video left, video right, and then you've also got the full width option here. And then here you can see what an image with the 2 block would look like, and you can see how this works with video types. You can have a video in either one, or you could have one with a video and one with an image. Okay, so that's kind of a bit of a summary of how to create a block, a standard block and video. Now we're going to have a little look at what to do for an image block. It's a very similar process, so I'm now going to add image block, and it's the same thing here, what I said with a title and a block description. You only need to do the title if you feel like it's relevant, or you can just use the block body to have your heading in there. Block description is mandatory, and here is your image. So you could just choose file, the same as you would with kind of your media library. Unfortunately, it's not linked with the media library that you've got actually on your website. It's basically you have to go into your files on your computer to be able to find one. It's not as easy to get one that you've already used before, but that's fine. Under image style, you've got a lot of different types of image styles here, but the only ones really that will be relevant for you will be grid image 33 and grid image 50 and the hero banner image. So me personally, I just use the grid image 50 here and the hero banner image. They're the two most common ones that I use that work. Don't forget your alt text. So similar to how you've got that on the rest of your site, it needs to describe what the actual image is, not what the block information is containing. It's what the image is, so that screen readers can pick this up. So, for example, if it's a man talking to someone at a stall, then that's literally what you would write. You don't have to say that this is about your enter and view volunteers or at a community event. It needs to describe the image. You've got the option to link your image, so you can leave this blank if you want. This is just, again, where you'd have the node of the page, and you'd pop that in here so that it just gives people another way to click through if they want to. Block body, the same as before, so you just need to put your information in there in terms of just to accompany your image. Region settings, so this is, where it will sit on the page, so wherever that will be that's appropriate. And you can see here that it's a bit frustrating and I think is a little bit of a glitch in the system that we haven't quite got to resolving yet, but there's no custom theme. However, we do still need one, so it just means that we're going to have to go back. So basically, what we need to do is go up. If you've got a block description, you would then copy and paste whatever block description that would be. So I'm just going to do a test one now. For the Get Involved page. Let's try this one. Test. So I'm going to go grey, and I'm going to put it on my Get Involved page. So if I want to find it again, I will highlight it, copy, and then when I save this block, I can't find this now on my page. It's going to take me ages. If I control find and paste, I can see that my test Get Involved page is here, which is great. So I can go straight to it and press configure. And if I scroll down again, you can see that my custom theme has appeared. That's great. That basically means that I can choose how it's going to look. So you've got your text with image right, save block, and now if I go onto the Get Involved page to show you how that's appeared, there's my test and there's my image. Not great, obviously I'm going to delete that. That's just to show you how easy that is to work. And that's all you need to do, really. It's the same kind of process. So once you've done your custom theme, you're all good to go. You can go back, chop and change how you want it to look. It's really easy to do that. It's fairly straightforward once you kind of get familiar with it, but it does take a bit of time. Just test, have a play around. If you do need any help, just contact the digital inbox, and we will be on hand to help you with that. Also, everything I've kind of said today and more will be in the guidance that we've got. So if you were to visit the network site, and if you put into search website full guidance, this has literally everything you need to know with your website. You just need to download that, and you will have all of the information that we spoke about today and more for kind of like the more nitty-gritty things that you kind of need to get to grips with. But for today,